But to you, Rook, since you only got one more, you might as well go ahead and do your last pick. What do you got for
Taka
us?
Tanaka is his name. Jesus Christ.
Taka Tanaka.
All right. Well, last week I did Old Yeller as my pick, and with that, there was a second movie that came along with it called
What?
Old Yeller sequel, Savage Sam. And it's funny because of how they put it on the disc here, on the case here, like the original Old Yellers. If you need to have, it's Old Yeller, of course. But then the title of the next one is Old Yeller sequel, Savage Sam, which no human on the planet has watched until I just watched it. So,
yeah, I've never seen it. I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, which is why it's funny because like I don't think they sell individual copies of it because I was like, oh, Old Yeller, and I didn't know there was a second movie on it until I bought it because I just saw the case, it says Old Yeller, whatever, it's, okay, right there. There's no split cover of Savage Sam.
It's in 1331. It makes me wonder if it was a TV movie.
Well, it's kind of funny you say that because the way that it feels, it's like Savage Sam feels like it's structured like a TV serial or something, episodic. Like there's as if there's 4 episodes into one little movie, essentially. There's like a few things in the movie that I could give it credit, but it's mostly dog shit. Yes, that was on purpose. Wow,
nice pun on words.
So let me walk you through this film, my friends, because nobody's gonna watch this. Full spoilers for you. All right, so Savage Sam, the song, for example, in the Old Yeller, there's a little Old Yeller song, best goddamn dog that there is. Savage Sam has a worse song to me. It starts off with, just doesn't start off very good with the song, and they're showing them, chase an animal or something. It's like, okay, you're trying to emulate that, but it's just weird. The dog is completely different. People would assume it'd be the puppy from the end of Old Yeller that we're following up with, but no, it's a completely different dog. Old Yeller is referenced once in the movie, and I'll get to that a little bit later. We follow up with Arliss and Travis. Travis is the older brother. Arliss is the younger one. They're both a little bit older. The little shit is a little shit the whole movie. He's like in that area, that like 12-year-old range. It looks like he's in almost somewhere around there. Arliss, and his voice is breaking all the time. Come on, Sam! Like his voice will crack all the time whenever he's yelling or doing something. He yells a lot in the movie.
It's puberty, man.
Yeah, well, I know, but with how often he yells, it's just worse. He doesn't talk normal for most of the movie, so he yells and it screeches louder when he does it. The parents are not in the movie. It's just the kids. They're off doing something else in this, and Travis has to watch over his little brother.
We don't need no parents.
Yeah, he's making some food, and Arliss is being a little turd. He's just a turd like the whole time, to an annoying degree, just extremely annoying degree. He's milking the cow. He doesn't want to work, but he's milking the cow. Some barn cats come around. He squirts them with some milk, and then the stupid dog comes in and freaks out the cow, almost causes like a little stampede on their farm practically. And then the little boy gets all angry that Travis was ruining his fun, and then throws rocks at him. It was one thing when he was like a little tiny kid throwing rocks. You're trying to kill my dog. That type of thing. But this is like an almost teenager kid. He might be 10, but I can't tell. But still, he's older. He's older by he's double his age at least. So throwing rocks is you could do more damage now. Corners him in the bathroom. Their uncle stops by and talks him out of it. That scene was kind of funny because he's like, "Yeah, here's my gun. You want to kill your brother? Shoot your brother." And the whole point, he was teaching him a lesson to not do that, which that was kind of funny. I was like, oh, "That's okay." And then the dog goes off chasing a bobcat, and Arliss goes after him a little bit later too. After Travis is trying to make him do some farm work, but him goes and chases off the thing. Travis goes, and before he goes after Arliss, Cersei from the first one comes back. I remember the fat dude that comes in and is like, oh yeah, I got Elizabeth, my daughter, and whatever. That guy comes back, and so does Elizabeth. And it comes off like, yeah, you remember how all those things in the first film were like all these jokes? Those are here again as well. I'm a fatty who wants to eat food. I'm check what you're cooking. And it's just like, okay. Elizabeth and Travis go to track down Arliss and the dog chasing down the bobcat. skipping around, some more yelling at each other. Some Indians come on by and like, oh, look at that white lady and 2 white boys. Perfect. And they take them. Their mule from the first film is there too. It's surprisingly like an emotional character for Harless. I don't know. I don't know why. This movie barely has anything to do with the dog, by the way. Like this is they get captured by Indians. The little turd is just, yeah, you stupid red devils, assholes, blah 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 blah. Putting up a fight the whole time, being a little bastard. All right, okay, fine, all right. One of them knocks out the dog, and he's like, "You murdered my dog." His voice gets so annoying and grating after a while. And here again, I'm just saying, if you were to watch it, you'd know what I'm talking about here when you hear him screaming all the time. And then I don't know, they're pretty much captured by the Indians for most of the movie. And at one point, they think that they're eating their mule, and they start talking about, oh, that mule was so good. You remember that time when the mule had to haul you and Old Yeller? That's the only time he's referenced. In regards to him mourning the death of the mule, they mention Old Yeller once in the whole movie. And I think they say Savage Sam like 1,000 times. Or they don't say Savage Sam, but they say Sam. Sam, get him, Sam. You got it, Sam. Sam's a good dog. Oh, Sam. Oh, Sam. They say his name like so many freaking times. It drives me crazy. I'm like, I know they say, it's a dog, it's an animal. You'll say its name sometimes, sure. But usually it's not too much where you notice how much they say it. My God, they're just praising this dog. And it's like, this dog's barely done anything. In the other film, you see, the dog has to kind of act in a way. It has to like be on camera by itself and show emotion of some kind. It's like the dog's acting. In this, it's like they just cut to the dog and fucking... I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of like, why'd you even have the camera on the dog? Like, he doesn't know what's going on. He's like, just barks all the time at things, but there's no character to the dog, which is what's more disappointing. It's called Savage Sam. You'd think that'd be important, but no. And the uncle tries to save them from being captured and whatnot. The little turd is pretty much what I call the little brother this whole time. He keeps on fighting with the Indians all that he can. Travis is worried that they're going to have their way with Elizabeth, and he and her starting to form a romance. And okay, that's like one element that could be explored in some kind of way if they knew what they were doing, but not really. Oh boy, Travis ends up getting away and meets up with his uncle that were following them. There's some jokes. This movie's so lame.
You're done. He's like, I'm done. I'm just movie.
They end up ambushing the Indians like 7 times, and I think finally they do it. And there's a funny joke with Cersei where he's like, oh, let me shoot. He's just like an old retard, pretty much is how he's presented as. And he was an idiot in the last one, but I mean, God, like, he's just like even more doubled down dumb in this one. And they're like, oh, you didn't do. He's like, oh, I did a shot from like 1,000 miles away. And then there's a point a little bit later, wink, wink, 15 minutes later, he's trying to save his daughter from being taken away. And then he, from very far away with the rifle, shoots a guy. And like, wow, that was impressive. And then he just passes out for some reason, just like faints after he shot the gun. And I don't know. We just fixate on weird stuff throughout this whole movie. I don't get why. And okay, the little boy is saved, the girl is saved, woo. We're going home, and then they have the little turd recant events to Cersei. The events that we've seen, by the way, for like a good 45 seconds, like in his, hey, you should have seen this. You wouldn't believe this, old Cersei. We did this and done that, and them Indians were coming, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God, this kid's just telling us what we saw. Oh my God. And then it fades away like it's going to cut to a new scene, and they're further along on their way back home. But nope, he's still talking. And we're still showing this. And then after a few more seconds, thank God, it cuts away to Travis for a minute and Elizabeth. And she's like, you can ride your own horse if you want to, if you feel strong enough. She's like, yeah, sure, when I'm strong enough, and holds him a little tighter. It's like, okay, that's a cute moment. All right, they're bonding finally, whatever. And then the the stupid bobcat from the beginning comes around again, and Harless and the dog chase it again. Oh yeah, they had to rely on the dog for tracking them. That's his use in this, was he's a tracker, I guess. But they don't really do much with that either, so who cares? Don't watch this movie. Don't watch this movie. You will just be like, what the hell is this?
Just
the
keep
hell is the point of this?
Old Yeller and have a good cry.
Yeah, well, it's like, it's okay if you want to make another movie, but I feel like Old Yeller had many different substantive points it's trying to make, and it was simple with how they did it. Just simple things with the dog. You just like, he's like, Travis hangs the meat up in Old Yeller, and he's like, if you eat this, I'm gonna shoot you. And he lowers one of them down, expecting it to eat it, and so he can justify in his own mind shooting the dog, and the dog doesn't. And it's like just small things like that, shows a little character with the dog, and then compassion, man's best friend, all those things, use of the dog. And then in Savage Sam, it's just like, you just had none of it. And there's just a little bit of like Travis type of growth as still being a man, but not really. It's not focused on. It's not presented in any sort of good way as Old Yeller was. This at best would just be summed up as a pointless old Western serial, where in the beginnings, when they're at their farm, is for one episode. The next episode, they get captured by Indians. The next episode, they're with the Indians, and they're trying to find, when Travis is trying to find them, and then they're finally get freed from the Indians and go home. Like, well, episode serial.
I did a little background for you, and surprisingly, this isn't a backdoor pilot like I thought it was, because it sounded like it from the way you were explaining.
Yeah.
But instead, it was actually a theatrical release. It bombed.
Yeah.
It was trashed by critics, but evidently it was.
Yeah, it's awful. There was no this thing came with a second disc for bonus features, only about Old Yeller. Not one mention. Even when they mentioned the films that the the two brothers are doing with all these, they don't mention Savage Sam. That's like a movie that they do together.
We don't talk about Savage Sam.
They mention Shaggy Dog. They mention Swiss Family Robinson and all those other ones when they talk about it. They do not mention Savage Sam when they're talking about this stuff. Like I
literally had no idea it existed until you brought it up.
Yeah, I didn't. Neither did I until you.
That's what I've heard from everybody. And I'm like, wow, this is really it's put next to Old Yeller in the DVD because I don't think anybody else would ever find it. Otherwise, they just go, that's on there. And it's on the same
like
disc.
Teen Wolf
so
too. They put it on with Teen Wolf because otherwise nobody'd buy it.
Yeah,
I bought it separately.
Me too, sadly, from Shao. But
yeah,
I don't.
That was just I wanted to see the excuses on the special features. I'll say it. I learned pretty much what I needed to know.
Yeah. Well, now you know. And so, thing was, I was hoping that maybe it'd be like a nice, like surprise gem of wow, it's a sequel and it's actually pretty good. Not as good as the first, but it's still pretty good and has its merit. Totally wrong.
Now and nobody's ever heard of it.
Well, that's the thing. I would think everybody would know that it's bad, but nobody's even heard of it. Like, I feel like it's one thing when people know, the sequel that don't want, like the Disney sequels, the direct-to-TV ones or the direct-to-DVD ones. Like, a lot of them, everybody knows about them. Everybody knows they exist, whether or not they're good. This is just nobody knew ever was a thing. That's the first time I think I've heard of that, or it's just a sequel that has never been mentioned before, but it existed somehow. You say that critics rated it. Are you sure they weren't bots? Because I don't think anybody watched it.
It wouldn't have been bots back in the day. When it came out in 1963, it would have been actual film critics.
Yeah.
You're not going to find nobody really talking about it because you're the only person that's ever seen this movie.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess. Who would talk about it? I don't know. I think even the nostalgia critic at one point was going through Disney movies all the time, and sure, he's gone through all of them by now. I don't think he goes through Savage Sam. I don't think he mentions that.
Nobody knows it exists. They tried to erase it from history.
And imagine if like somebody like him did talk about it. That would be like, what? This huge channel talk about a movie that nobody knows. I love it. It's called Old Yeller sequel. And that's part of the title. That's part of the title.
Well, they had to get. They couldn't call it Old Yeller because the dog was gone. So they just like, well, let's make a sequel. Just call it Old Yeller sequel. Whatever.
Yeah. Again, they only mention Old Yeller one time, and it's when they're mourning the death of the donkey, which actually turned out to not be dead. They ate something else. I don't know what it was. There's another horse or something else. They thought they're eating the donkey because it wasn't in the group of horses that the Indians stole. And when he sees and that's like Harless, he was like, "Oh man, it helped us out so much, and it's even helping us now with our strength as we eat them." And then later at the very end, he's like, "Oh, it's in the cornfield. Wow, get out of here, you stupid ass donkey!" And then and then that's what like begins the chase, and then the bobcat is around, and I was like, "What the fuck was that?" Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so that's that movie. Don't recommend it, y'all. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Now you know. Now you know.
Now you know.